Hey you guys, today we're going to go step by step to teach you guys how to do squats for my beginners. Here we go. So the squat is the king of all exercises. You'll build a stronger body and develop strength in your core, which will translate into overall better performance. So this lower body move primarily works and strengthens the hips, the glutes, the hamstrings, quads, and indirectly the abs. So squats are going to work your entire body and your core the same way a plank does, but it's more isometrically. So it's really a great full body, almost full body exercise. One of the good ones. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of start at the bottom and work our way up. We're going to talk about feet positioning. So what we're going to think about with our feet, I'm just going to move these out of the way so you can totally see what I'm doing here. Our feet should be a little wider than shoulder width apart. So once you get that, then you're going to think about just slightly turning your toes outward, just slightly though. We're not talking plie, just a very slight rotation of your feet outward. So the wider your stance is than your shoulder, what this is going to do, it's going to put your feet in a stance that is going to allow the pressure on the sides of your feet to enable to enact all of those targeting muscles. So that's why we're going a little bit wider. If we're in here a little bit too close, that doesn't really work very well. So a little bit wider than shoulder width, our feet are going to just be slightly turned out. Okay, next we're going to talk about hip hinge. A lot of people don't really think about how critical this is. So once we're in our position of our feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, we've got our toes slightly rotated out, the hip hinge. So with this, what you're going to do is you're going to think about sitting back with your hips. So before you think about even bending your knees, I'm actually going to think about pushing my hips backward, and then I'm going to descend into my squat. And that's going to allow my knees to stay back behind my toes. Because a lot of times if we're thinking about starting with our knees bending first, they're going to go way over the toes. That's not what we're looking for. So once we're here, we're going to think about kicking our backside out, then we're going to lower down. That's going to keep our knees in the proper position. That's going to get our glutes back here really activated. So if there's any takeaway from this, always think about, I'm going to push my hips back first, and then I'm going to begin my knees bending. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the spine, the lumbar spine. This is another critical piece, and this can be, a lot of times I see people kind of hyperextending their backs. So they'll have a bar here, and then I see them maybe starting to bend first, but then I see the back kind of being pushed out here. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to hyperextend your lower back. So what you want to do is you want to think about keeping your back fairly straight or just its natural position. You shouldn't feel your tail being pushed up. So our feet are here. Our feet are slightly rotated. We're hinging back, but I'm not pushing back too much. I'm hinging at the waist. I'm not pulling from my lower back, lumbar back here. I'm not kind of pushing out. I'm keeping a natural curve in my spine. I'm just thinking about pushing and hinging from the waist. And then I'm bending. And I'm keeping my head and chest straight. So that's another thing. Don't think about pushing your butt out. You're hinging at your hips. So those are two very distinct things to remember, because that can put a lot of pressure on your back. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm squatting. It's a back squat. If you have a bar over your shoulders here and you're doing these squats, it's actually called a back squat. People don't realize it's actually meant for your lower back. So that's where you have to be really, really careful. Hinging at the waist and just keeping that natural curve. Okay, so next, hip and ankle flexibility. So proper squats require flexion at the ankle and at your hips to really get down into that descent of a proper squat. So proper flexibility at the hips and the ankles is required for proper squatting, obviously. So for anybody who's like me, I have ankle mobility issues. I have trouble with flexion in my ankles because of years of gymnastics. So what I do is I just slightly elevate my ankles. I take a very thin weight. I just do the same positioning with my feet, a little wider than shoulder width apart, slightly rotated here. That's gonna elevate me with my ankles where I'm losing that flexion, where it's not allowing me to go into a 90-degree squat. Because I stop about here, it's like I get stuck. And it's because I don't have the flexion in my ankle. It's not there. So I'm working on it though. So if you find yourself not getting into that 90-degree angle, this is maybe what you need to do until you can get that flexion there. So now, so much easier. I mean, I could drop all the way down. So it's pretty amazing how just elevating slightly is allowing my ankle to now kind of make up for that flexion that I don't have, and I'm getting the proper range of motion. Okay, you guys, so once again, our feet are slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Our feet are slightly rotated out. We're hinging at our hip first before we start actually squatting and bending our knees. Our head and chest should be up. We should have a natural spine here. We're not pushing our back out or hyperextending it. And we're lowering down to about parallel to the ground, 90 degrees, and we're coming back up, pushing through the heel. You should feel the weight through your heels. So, and this is going to apply to a body weight squat. If you're just doing a body weight squat, if you're doing a dumbbell squat, it's going to be the same thing. Same thing's going to apply here. Hinging and dropping, chest, everything up, getting to that 90 degrees. And then if you were to do a barbell squat, same thing. You would just have your barbell behind you. All those same mechanics are going to apply. Okay, you guys, I hope this was helpful. Learning the proper mechanics before going in and doing any kind of lifting is going to make your life so much better. It's going to make your body function better. You're just going to train your body to do it properly. Okay, I hope this was helpful, you guys. Hey, check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We've got some great stuff on there. Check out Athlean-XX for women.com. Thanks for joining me, and let's work out soon.